Shalom and greetings to my brothers and sisters in Messiah Yeshua who have his testimony and guard his commandments, who have the fear of Yahweh. Brother Nick here, and today is the day of the spring equinox. It's the day that the sun goes in his tent or tabernacle. It is March 20th, 2022. That means that on the following day, the sun comes out of his tent to run his 364-day race, which is the 364-day calendar according to Psalm 19 verse 6. This video is being recorded in the country of Egypt, and this video is about Messiah the Prince was to arrive in 2018 per Daniel chapter 9, 25 to 26 and 27, and that is to arrive in Jerusalem. This video is also about the last Shemitah, or the last 7 years, and also the Revelation 12:1 sign. I'm going to be tying it all together. So in the video you are now watching, I am going to replay this short video I made over 3 years ago. It's only 5.5 minutes long. In this video, I provide the explanation of the prophecy of counting the 69 weeks of Daniel chapter 9, 25, 26, and 27. And I did so with much anticipation at the time of the video that year because I was ignorantly and incorrectly expecting Messiah Yeshua's return to Jerusalem that year in the form of the rapture. In hindsight, of this video, looking back at this video, the calculation was correct, as I will redemonstrate in this video that you're watching now when I link it up on the Jubilee Shemitah account that I recently restored. But it was not Messiah Yeshua who we were supposed to be looking for, but rather we were supposed to be looking for Messiah the Prince, who is Messiah Yeshua's end-time servant, who is the end-time Elijah type figure. I have an entire playlist of dedicated videos I made to this person's identity in the scriptures. So for everybody to watch, you can go ahead and watch my playlist on that. In the video that you're now watching, this video right now, I'm going to be revisiting this old video, like I said, to review the prophecy of Daniel chapter 9, 25, 26, and 27, to correct myself. And also I'm going to use that prophecy and sync it to the restored Jubilee count I recently did in these 3 videos to prove to you that Messiah the Prince was to arrive in Jerusalem in 2018. And simultaneously, I will document and prove that we are in and have been in the last Shemitah, which is the last 7-year period of the 70th Jubilee. And more so, at the day and time of this video on the spring equinox 2022, we are actually halfway through the last Shemitah as it started on Yom Teruah 2018. And also, I'm going to be documenting that the Revelation 12 sign occurred in the sabbatical year, which was the 7th year of the previous Shemitah cycle, and it was a sign to come. The heavenly signs are always signs to come of future events, of the coming Messiah the Prince, and was a sign of the coming world judgment. As I said, I've done a couple of videos explaining that the Revelation 12 sign was the sign of the end-time Elijah, who was the man-child prophesied, the remembered one of Yah, the man-child. And I also did a video about a major component of the Revelation 12 sign that we all missed, that when the moon was under the feet of the Revelation 12 sign, it's right here, you can see the moon when it was under the feet of the woman, that it was in the balances, which is Libra, the balancing scales, and that was a sign of the coming world judgment. You need to understand and remember that Jonah was a prophet who prophesied of pending judgment, and the Revelation 12:1 sign is also the sign of Jonah, the Jonah type, I should say, who that same person is the Elijah type prophet, which is the Messiah type prophet because he is a David-like prophet, as David was a prophet and a king, So this person's going to be a prophet and a prince, a ruler, as a co-regent under Messiah Yeshua. As Messiah Yeshua is king, this person's going to be sitting on Messiah Yeshua's throne, as Messiah Yeshua is sitting on his Father's throne in heaven. And that throne that this person's going to sit on is the throne of David, because he's a descendant of David. David and all the prophets, including Messiah Yeshua, prophesied of this person, because this is Messiah Yeshua's end-time servant, as I've explained in previous videos. So the Jubilee year has been restored, and Daniel 9:24 has been correctly interpreted regarding what it really means. In this three-part video series over the last 6 months, by the spirit of wisdom and understanding, if I be correct, I progressively and systematically restored the Jubilee and sabbatical year count based on Ezekiel chapter 40, verse 1, which anchors the Jubilee year that Ezekiel received that prophecy, to 2 historical events: the Babylonian captivity of King Jehoiakim, and also then later the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. Because we know the date of the Babylonian captivity of King Jehoiakim, we can determine the year of the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. And thus, because we have these 2 dates, we can sync it up to the year that Ezekiel received his prophecy. And if we have one year of Jubilee with Gregorian dating applied to it, we can then restore the entire Jubilee count. So even though this was a consecutive, a progressive, and systematically done over 3 parts, you need to go back and watch part 1, watch part 2, and then watch part 3. If you haven't watched it, maybe watch it at 1.5 speed, but you need to watch it because there's important things regarding the 70th Jubilee, the 120th Jubilee in here, then I emphasize it here, and then I keep going. So in these videos, I also uniquely interpreted Daniel 9:24 to be 70 Jubilees, not 70 weeks of years. So when Daniel 9:24 is by itself, that prophecy means 70 Jubilees. So watch this video. And hallelujah, if I be correct. And like I said, this work, as important as it is, look at the viewership. It's pretty low compared to all the stupid videos on YouTube that get views. This work has been extremely neglected by almost everybody. What a shame. But for those who know, I hope that you're blessed. I'm blessed to have this understanding and share it with you freely. Freely I received it, freely I give. So in this video series, it took 3 parts to refine the year of Jubilee, to get the correct year of Jubilee for the next Jubilee, which is the 70th Jubilee. In the first video right here of the series, I gave 3 possible dates. Then in part 2, I caught an error and I narrowed it down to 2 possible years for the next Jubilee. And in the last part, part 3, I identified the year of Jubilee in the book of Revelation, and that the year of Jubilee happens after Jerusalem is trampled down for 42 months. So by understanding that in the book of Revelation, identifying the year of Jubilee in the book of Revelation, that the 42 months happened prior to the Jubilee in the book of Revelation, I then proved and finalized that the next year of Jubilee will be Yom Kippur 2025. But that is contingent upon the Gregorian year of 2022, which is the Julian year of 2775, being accurate and correct. If the Gregorian year of 2022, which is Julian year 2775, if these are accurate and correct, then Yom Kippur 2025 is the next Jubilee year, which is also the 70th Jubilee of the real Israelites and the 120th Jubilee from Adam. So again, I proved the next Jubilee year to be Yom Kippur 2025, contingent upon this being accurate. That means that it depends on this being accurate. If it is, that's it. But that's the best that we have, that I have to go by, and I don't have time to count the Julian years and reconcile all of that. And it will be the 70th Jubilee for the real Israelites from the year when they and Joshua crossed the Jordan and entered the Promised Land. as in this series I correctly interpreted Daniel 9:24 being 70 jubilees, not 70 weeks. And that will be when the kingdom of heaven comes to earth. If you haven't watched this video series, you've missed out. So start in part 1 and maybe at 1.5 speed. So here is the correct interpretation of Daniel 9:24 when the verse is by itself. Daniel 9:24. 70 jubilees, not weeks, are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So that interpretation that I just gave you, I explained that in my videos on why it's 70 jubilees and not 70 weeks. As in Daniel 9:24, the word weeks is a week of years. That's almost a tongue twister. A week of years, which is 49 years, and that is a jubilee cycle. While in Daniel 9:25, 26, and 27, the weeks that are in here, in these verses, are a week of years as we have traditionally understood. So when it talks of 7 weeks, it's a week of years is 7 years, so 7 times 7 is 49. So again, Daniel 9:24 by itself, a week of years is 7 years. And a week of years is 49 years. So Daniel 9:24 is speaking of 70 jubilees when it's by itself. Daniel 9:25, 26, and 27, these weeks are a week of years, which are just 7 years. So the word for weeks is the same word here used throughout the passage, but the hidden meaning is that there are 2 different meanings of the same word for weeks in this whole entire passage, which is why it's been so difficult for Bible scholars to interpret the passage. But to make things even more confusing for you, if you haven't watched all of those previous videos I've explained and thought about what I shared with you, is that to make it more confusing, is that Daniel 9:24 has a dual meaning of prophecy. So it also means 70 weeks of years when it is part of this entire passage. So it is the same 70 weeks here, but by itself, it's 70 jubilees because that's the 70 years that Jeremiah prophesied of. Now to make things even more confusing about this is that when that verse is with the rest of it, it is 70 weeks of years. Why do I say that? Is because these 70 weeks or these 490 years are actually a part of the restored Jubilee timeline, as I will explain. And because we have the restored Jubilee cycle and timeline, we can now easily identify when the last 7 years was to begin. So now let me go ahead and play that video from 2018 regarding this prophecy. And then I'm going to go ahead and share with you the timelines and how the last Shemitah syncs up with the Jubilee count, where the Revelation 12 sign was on it, and where exactly we are today on the day of the spring equinox. Hi, Nick Vanderlaan here from Jerusalem. It's May 24th, 2018. It's the 5th day of the 3rd month on Elohim's Essene Enoch solar calendar. This prophecy deals in Daniel chapter 9, guys, and it's regarding the rebuilding and restoring of Jerusalem. As you can see right now, we're here on Mount Zion, and this is the walls of Jerusalem that were built by King Suleiman the Magnificent. Down here is the city of David. We're on the top of Mount Zion. So the prophecy right here is, there's 70 weeks that were decreed upon the people and as your holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make atonement for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. And know then and understand, from the issuing of the word to restore and to rebuild Jerusalem to Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. So that's a total of 69 weeks. It shall be built again with a plaza and a trench, even in times of affliction. And this goes on to talk about how Messiah would be cut off, the city will be destroyed in ruins until the end. And then it talks about this person who's going to confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. Guys, this has not happened, okay? And in the middle of the week, a week, guys, is a week of years. There's 7 days per week, so each day represents a year. So there's 7 years per week in this prophecy. And the sacrifice and offering to cease in the middle of this, and on the most outer corners, abominations by a desolator, even until the end. And that which was decreed shall pour out on the desolator. So, guys, this is the second prophecy. This is the second fulfillment. I'm sure many of you have heard this, maybe if you haven't. So what I want to document right now, this is kind of a crude video that I got going on here, but here I am on Wikipedia, okay, and on the walls of Jerusalem. As you can read, the walls of Jerusalem in 1535 was part of the Ottoman Empire, and Sultan Suleiman ordered the ruined walls to be built. Okay, so in 1535, the walls were ordered to be rebuilt. So now, guys, you can check this information out. It's public. We don't know if it was after the spring equinox, but that is my guess. I looked up for documentation to try to line it up with the seeing calendar, but I couldn't find it. So let's go ahead and get in. Sorry guys, this is on, you know, crayon from my kids and some lined paper. But let's go ahead and get into this. So 1535 CE, Jerusalem was ordered to be rebuilt as per Daniel 9:25. Okay, there were 69 weeks of years, which is 69 times 7, okay, equals 483 years. You add up 1535 plus 483, it brings you to 2018. This is 69 weeks. Well, there's a 70th week. It's going to be judgment. The last 3.5 years is called the Great Tribulation. The tribes of Israel, and it's also going to be judgment on the world. So, guys, Elohim's wrath is about to be poured out, it appears, according, if this is the correct way to keep this prophecy. So there you have it. That was that video. Now let me go ahead and commentate on that video. So as I said in that video, that there was in 1535, it's estimated by historians that Sultan Suleiman of the Ottoman Empire made a decree to restore and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Historians have archaeological evidence dating that the work began in 1536. So they perceived that the decree was made in 1535 to rebuild the walls. You would think that there would be a lot of planning that would have to go into that. So the 69 weeks of 7 years per week, which is 483 years, if we take 1535 plus 483 years, it brings us to 2018. So sometime around 2018, was when Messiah the Prince was supposed to arrive in Jerusalem. And here's my shared Google spreadsheet of the restored Israelite Jubilee and Shemitah cycle. This is from when the year that Joshua and the Israelites crossed the Jordan. As the first year of the Shemitah cycle, it was year number 1 of 49, and the Jubilee horns at Jericho were blown, the Yobel horns were blown at Jericho. And that happened in the first month when the Israelites crossed and entered the Jordan. But the Jubilee cycle is tied to the agricultural cycle, if you read Leviticus 25. So that means that the Jubilee year started Yom Kippur 1406 BC to Yom Teruah 1405 BC was the first year of, which was the Jubilee year of that cycle. So this is the Jubilee cycle. The 70th Jubilee is coming up down here. It says 71, but because there is no year 0 to start it, it's 1 here. So subtract 1, and this is the 70th Jubilee. Watch my playlist on this. And what was interesting was when I visited or revisited this restored Jubilee Shemitah cycle, I came down and looked at 1535 to see if it was here in the Jubilee timeline, and sure enough, it was right here. And this is when Sultan Suleiman decreed the walls of Jerusalem to rebuilt in 1535. So what this means is that Sultan Suleiman made the decree in a Jubilee year to have it rebuilt. So that year that first year was the first year of the 49-year cycle. And if you count that 49-year cycle through, it means that we are on track for a year 2025, Yom Kippur 2025, to be the next Jubilee, which is also the 70th Jubilee. And it's actually the 10th Jubilee from when Sultan Suleiman declared this decree, because 490 years will be complete, and this will be the first year of the next 49-year cycle. Also in 1535, that would be the start of the counting of Daniel 9:25 of Messiah the Prince was to arrive 69 weeks of years later, or 483 years later, and arrive in Jerusalem in 2018. So this is another spreadsheet, shared spreadsheet, and the link will be in the description. But this Google spreadsheet is the Daniel 9:25 to 26 Messiah the Prince Shemitah count. So I'm starting here in 1535 when Sultan Suleiman gave his decree. So in 1535, Sultan Suleiman decreed the walls of Jerusalem to be rebuilt. So we need to start our 483-year count to find out when Messiah the Prince was supposed to arrive in Jerusalem. So you can see that every 7 years like that, that's how I have it set up here. And we keep going right down here, and you can see that year 2017 to 2018 was the final year of the 483 years. So that was year 483. That means Messiah the Prince was to arrive the following year in Jerusalem during the year of 2018 to 2019 in Jerusalem. And that year, 2018 to 2019, is the first year of the final 7-year Shemitah cycle, which will be followed by the 70th Jubilee. So here is a graphic that I made for my video, the 70th Jubilee in the book of Revelation. And I made this graphic here so you can see that here is the Revelation 12:1 sign. It happened here in the 7th year of the previous Shemitah cycle. And that the last 7 years would start on the Yom Teruah 2018 and finish here at Yom Kippur 2025, right here during the 2025 year. This means that Messiah the Prince was to arrive in Jerusalem and be in Jerusalem for this time period. And of this last 7-year Shemitah cycle, you can see how I have it numbered 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 49. And the following year is the Jubilee, which is actually the first year of the next 49-year cycle. As I explained in my previous videos, that's how you count the Jubilee cycle. And halfway through this, right here, is actually right here. If you count back, spring equinox, around the time of the spring equinox today, is the beginning of the final three and a half years. Whether it starts on the first day, whether it starts tonight on the night of the spring equinox, whether it starts on the following day, which is the first day of the first month on the restored calendar, whether it starts on the 6th day of the first month, or on the 10th day of the first month, or on the Passover on the 14th day of the first month, or on the 15th day, which is the first day of unleavened bread, or on the last day of unleavened bread, which is the 21st day of the month, or on the 26th day of the first month, which is the first fruits festival of barley. To go 42 months and have the resurrection at the end, it looks like it would have to start by the 10th day of the first month, if this is correct. Now, this is, again, all contingent. All this understanding is contingent upon the Gregorian year 2022 being correct and the Julian year 2775 being correct. If those are correct, then this is correct. And that the last 42 months, the time of Jacob's trouble, the tribulation, the great tribulation is in here. And then here we have the Jubilee year, this is the year that Messiah Yeshua spoke of. It's the year of his redeemed, and it's also a year of vengeance and a year of recompense for Zion. So this final year, it's a year where at the 7th trumpet, how I understand it, the seventh trumpet is going to be on the 70th Jubilee, and that is when the 7 bowls of wrath are going to start being poured out. So this is when the first resurrection, this is the day of the rapture, but the first resurrection and then the rapture, which happens right after the first resurrection, or part of the first resurrection at the end of part of it. And then that is Messiah Yeshua's kingdom coming to earth. So that's why this is the good news of the kingdom that's preached, because it's the gospel of the kingdom, knowing that we're so close to it, because a lot of people are going to die in here, and hopefully they get the understanding that they are going to die with the blessed hope of knowing when that they're about to be resurrected only less than 3.5 years later. That's a great blessed hope to be looking forward to, is the resurrection. We are in the last Shemitah. We are, as of today, we're practically halfway through. It could be a day, it could be 6 days, it could be 10 days, it could be maybe 14 days, but I think that the greater exodus might happen in this time period prior to the start of this, or simultaneously with the start of it. I don't have a full understanding of all of these end time scenarios. We will never know for certain until we're looking back. And all of this, considering that this information right now, we have the restored Jubilee, we can confirm that Sultan Suleiman's count looks like to be correct with 1535, more than likely. Again, all contingent upon the Gregorian year and the Julian years being correct. If that's correct, then we were just like in the time of Yeshua. Yeshua lamented over Jerusalem because they knew not the time of their visitation. Messiah the Prince was supposed to come in 2018 to Jerusalem. And look at this video. There were even people in Jerusalem singing, waiting for Messiah the Prince. They completely missed him. This video is from 2018. So with that being said, I hope you're blessed by the information in this video. And so I'm signing off, and shalom to all my brothers and sisters in Messiah Yeshua who have his testimony and guard his commandments, who fear Yahweh for the penalty of their sin, who truly fear him and love him in doing so, showing that love by keeping his commandments in the 7th day Sabbath. Shalom to you, and I'm signing off.